Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry Channel, and with me tonight are Minions SkepTok.
Hi, everybody.
SkepTok is favoring his voice because he's getting over a thing, so we won't be hearing a lot from him. We might just hear like a noise of encouragement every now and then. Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
DrFunctional.
Harry's always ruining everything.
Yeah, that's what I am. I'm a big ruiner.
Just a big ruiner.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. This should be interesting. I don't know why you're seeing what you're seeing in the stream, but whatever, we'll just go with it. Anyway, yeah, I'm doing okay. I did something incredibly stupid the other day. I was trying to add a distributed file system storage node to a system that already had a ZFS file system. And I thought the problem was different than what it was. It turns out this particular piece of hardware, every time it starts up, it just sort of scrambles the path to all the disk devices.
What?
And I ended up...
It scrambles the path. You're saying that it...
I'm saying the device names for the disk drives that were on the system just came up kind of randomly every time you rebooted once there was more than one. And so
Incredible.
I cleverly decided to blow away the first 20 gigabytes of that drive.
Sure.
Turns out it had really important data on it that I was in the process of backing up, but hadn't backed up yet.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with a way. And there isn't, by the way, there is no solution for this on the internet. There's no solution. It's not like you can just Google it and go, oh, do this. And there's a whole bunch of people saying, no, you're screwed. You'll never get it back. But I spent about 12 hours with a program called OD, which is the optical hex dump program, optical dump program, and DD playing with random offsets to basically search through this data.
Dynamic debugging tools.
I was basically trying to reverse engineer the format to figure out what kind of sentinel blocks were on a ZFS volume. Yeah,
exactly what I was going to say.
If you're going to do really stupid things, you better be clever to fix your mistakes. Because I mean, I didn't fix that until like 2 a.m.
Hardcore. That, ladies and gentlemen, I was in that business for a very long time.
Yeah,
and that is hardcore.
It was very gnarly. It was.
That's quite gnarly. Yes.
Well, it's quite the pucker moment when you realize you've deleted a whole bunch of important data, and then to get it back magically. Oh God, it's the best thing ever. It's the best thing ever. I'll bore you with some of the details later when you're feeling better. Anyway, this is where I'm supposed to talk to you, not talk about me. Hi, DrFunctional.
Well, I did ask.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. It's that time of year again where it's time to watch the Babylon 5, your favorite sci-fi from beginning to end. So I'm enjoying that while working.
I think Babylon 5 is not terrible. I mean, until Melissa Gilbert showed up, then that was pretty bad. Bruce Boxleitner's wife in real life. What?
Yeah.
You remember? You know which episode I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
It's that note of realization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Babylon 5 was just such a great idea.
Yeah.
It was so great that they did it twice.
They did it a couple of times.
Well, it's like that castle in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. You know, like it built a castle and then it sank into the swamp. Then it built another castle and it caught fire and then sank into the swamp. They basically had to build 5 castles to get it right. It's not a great track record.
No.
Let's
do what you got to do sometimes.
Sometimes what you got to do. Hi, Serenity.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Is it properly winter yet where you live?
It's how warm is it right now? It's 36 right now, so it's getting there.
Yeah, it's not really winter here, except a combination of high tides and a storm. offshore have basically created some pretty nasty rogue waves. And every now and then they're just sort of like going way further into town than they should be. There was this one.
Well, I saw the video of the one where a bunch of people got injured.
Well, okay, when you know that the waves are going to be unusually high, you don't stand there by the on the other side, like a slack-jawed yokel, staring at the ocean.
I really do think it's just like Midwesterners who've never actually had to deal with the dangers of water, because at least like my state, it doesn't happen as much as it used to because we've gotten better levees, but we used to flood at least once or twice a year for a long time when I was like early teens and younger, because I remember we were always on the news. And it's like, when you grow up with that kind of healthy fear of water, you know the days not to get near it. And when it's a little blustery and a little cold and you see a lot of whitecaps, you kind of don't go near the water.
Yeah.
So you adapt to your environment.
I pay attention to know that Mother Nature does not give a flying crap about who I am and will kill me in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
The universe is indifferent towards us.
Exactly,
She
and that's what
made
makes it
you,
livable.
she can take you out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the universe is indifferent, which makes it livable to me.
Luckily, being on the northern side of the Great Lakes, we never have to deal with flooding. It's all everybody south of us.
You do get you get the northern version of what we always get, which is the bad storms that come up from the Gulf, Texas, and then hits us like a mother effer.
Oh yeah. The weather patterns we get because we're there is
the big Gulf breezes, the warm, moist air that comes up from them.
Yeah, and then it travels up along the Mississippi and Ohio River, hits the lakes, becomes stronger where he is, and either
that's when you get floods.
Yeah, and either hits the Great Lakes and gets stronger, and either continues on up toward functional, or hits the Great Lakes and then comes back down to where I am and hits us.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what mood it's in.
And
It's like-
wrecks
it's like pinball.
southeastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Like
lake
pinball,
effect
it just
snow
kind of
looks like
bounces
it would
around.
be fun.
Well, it's like back in '95 when I lived in northern West Virginia, like that was the year we got 5 feet of snow, and it happened in less than 24 hours.
It's lake effect, right?
Yeah, it was a storm that started in the Gulf, went up, basically traveled along the Mississippi River, hit the Great Lakes, spun there for a little bit, and swung back down to us. And it just
Then brought all that moisture.
yep. We didn't
Got
have school for
cold.
we didn't have school for like 2 weeks. It was great.
Did you ever hear of the time that we here got snowed in so bad?
Oh yeah.
It was like almost 40 centimeters. They had to call in the military to help because
remember
it was that point of an emergency. People like to make fun of it, but no, like it seriously was an emergency. People died because, thank God we did call in the armed services as fast as we did, because they helped prevent a lot of other deaths that would have happened otherwise. And it was something like 40 centimeters overnight.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is in feet. 40 cm in feet. Oh, okay, so that's just shy of 16 inches overnight.
It's a little over a foot. That's still a lot overnight. That's
a lot of snow to get overnight.
What's like it wasn't that storm. It was the storm that came years later.
No, it was before that. It was the one I'm talking about is 99, and then we got one
just about 10 or 12
10
years ago.
The ice storm. Yeah, that one was also.
That was back during the era of YouTube, and I was following a bunch of YouTubers who lived up there, and they drove around, and all the power was out, and you could hear the tree limbs cracking from the ice.
You had, like, obviously we don't have things like redwoods up here, but we have pretty massive old trees, old maples and oaks and stuff, and they crumbled under their own weight because that's how frozen they were. We had not just concrete and wooden telephone poles, but the new polymer telephone poles, again, frozen so solidly that they collapsed. That was all over the northeastern area, Ontario, Toronto, Ontario, Quebec, New York.
Well, it's like I remember the videos of like, and once again, because when you grow up near as close to the Ohio River, it's not the same lake effect, but it's pretty close.
No, it's very similar.
And so I know with the cracking sounds, I know they're bad, so you don't go near trees. Right. So it's one of those things where it was kind of like I'm watching them drive around on non-plowed streets, and I'm just sitting here going, "You're going to give me an anxiety attack," because they would put the camera out the window, and you could literally hear just these pitch black streets, just.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm gonna have a panic attack because no,
Just run.
it's like,
Yeah.
And then they made a joke about it's like, all right, everybody, be careful because we all know about the baby surge that happened afterward. And I'm just like, if people let people stay warm how they want to stay warm, leave them alone.
Yeah.
But it was nuts. Like I'm every meteorologist down here keeps saying we're gonna have one of those. Another one of those years, probably not as bad, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to deal with it. Oh, I don't want to deal with it.
Depending on me, I'm just going to answer something in chat that's going on about the lake effect snow. Let me tell you something. When an air mass picks up a whole bunch of water, and depending on what kind of temperatures it passes through, it can stay warm enough and then suddenly get cold like that, it can traverse a substantial number of miles before it will dump that as snow.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a non-trivial amount.
And if it gets pushed up into warmer, and then
and gathers more energy,
and then gathers more energy, but then freezes and goes back up, and
right,
you get again like another storm we had here, Serenity, where literally golf ball sized hail that came up from the southwest. That I mean it didn't. There wasn't a lot of like severe damage, not as like the ice storm or the heavy snowfalls or anything, but it was just annoying to come out to your car and see that there's all these now little tiny dents all over the hood and all over the roof. And I mean, if you got hit in the head, it would probably hurt. It'd suck, but it wasn't going to kill you. But oh god.
Oh yeah, no, but
we
Texas,
definitely get that.
Texas beats all of us when it comes to hail sides. I'm glad that we don't get Texas sides hail. I don't
Gulf of
want
Mexico,
that. It'll break my car. It'll break my car, and I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah,
because we don't have a garage.
Crazy hail in Kansas of all places.
My mom was in Kansas when a really bad hailstorm. She was there for business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she was like, well, it hasn't taken the power out, but I feel like my hotel window almost broke 3 times.
That's the weird thing too, is like we don't often get hail up here. We get it very infrequently. So when we got stuff of that size from El Nino coming up from the southwest, like, oh my god, it was terrifying. But after the fact, we kind of looked at it. It was like, okay, that was nothing. Okay, we can survive this.
Yeah. Well, it's like I live just far enough south that it usually loses size and becomes sleet. We very rarely get big hail here. It's one of those I don't want to deal with it.
Sleet is interesting because that's basically just slush.
Yeah.
That's raining down on you. It's not quite snow. It's not quite rain. It's
Welcome to Weather Talk. We're talking about weather today.
Well, all I did was ask if it was winter yet, and then I was kind of curious to see how far this would go. You guys all turned into little Energizer bunnies. It was impressive.
Welcome to the Autism Channel.
Yeah, welcome to the
I'm just expecting to get a blizzard in February.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
probably.
Happen.
So Skep,
yes,
you've been getting over a thing, so maybe you don't have much to share right now. Just another day above ground, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. At my age, just grateful for whatever comes your way. But
no,
I've got about 4 negative COVID tests that I'm sporting.
Just keep popping those things.
Because I feel like I had the flu. I was really beat down for a couple of days. Anyway,
That's not good. That's not good. Well, yeah, save your voice. So, functional. Before we get into the show, the planned part of the show, is there anything that sort of sticks out as the interesting or most important or whatever story of last year for you?
Most important story of last year.
What in 2023, deserves like mention by you? What do you think was important or interesting?
Oh man. It all kind of blurred together. Was Epstein last year? The Epstein
part of it.
I mean, Epstein's an ongoing thing.
Yeah, I mean,
for the problem.
Sticks out to me. No, I don't really think so.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff, it does all sort of blend together. Like, when did we leave Afghanistan? That was the year before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Time really flies when things are terrible. I mean, one thing that we're not going to talk about, which I'll throw out there, is we started the year with people kind of murmuring about AI, and by the end of the year, AI was like all caps, in your face, everywhere, and shit was starting to happen. The amount of change that just took place in terms of just that one piece of technology in 2023 is staggering.
Complete sea change.
Yeah, and Serenity, what about you?
I think for me personally, just because I thought it was funny and it also kind of proves how full of shit everyone is.
Okay.
The Hogwarts Legacy stuff.
Okay.
Well, because it kind of proved that there's no powder in the gun for the people who wanted to make it go away.
Oh, that's right. Basically, the people who wanted to boycott it for reasons were shown to be impotent in terms of their efforts. Yeah.
Well, it's like on Steam alone, because Steam is one of the few things that releases its numbers. Like Hogwarts is number 1 for player base. It's like 854,000 some odd number of players, continuous players, kind of stuff. And considering when it came out, that's a big deal. Like,
that's a lot.
Because by this time in the year, it should have died down by now, but it hasn't.
That's like a month worth of southern border crossings. I mean, that's a lot.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, it just kind of proved how kind of full of crap everybody is about things. It's just like, okay, boycott it. I don't care.
Well, there's the news view of the world, right? And then there's what's actually happening. So if your whole reality is defined by major media news, I can almost assure you that most of what you think is real is probably not real.
Well, it also kind of showed the dark. So us being not chronically online, but all of us having at least a presence of semblance of onlineness. Like, we all knew the hypocrisy of that group of people, the ones who wanted to boycott. We all knew their hypocrisy. We all knew they talk about being like, people shouldn't be allowed to bully, and yet they are bullies. And Hogwarts Legacy kind of showed that they're all full of crap because of the VTubers that they got swatted and sent death threats to, the big YouTubers and streamers that they tried to harass and harangue and stop them from playing, and some of them did, some of them didn't, and they continued on, and they're all doing just fine. The ones who just continued on doing it, the bigger ones, like the smaller ones, a lot of them got completely destroyed. But it kind of just showed the whole fact of like, you're this exact piece of crap that you claim that you don't like, so why would I take you seriously? And I think that's taken a lot of air out of their sails, because I think a lot of people, one, it kind of showed that they're impotent in their power because of how well Hogwarts Legacy sold, but it also kind of showed how their tactics, I guess. So it kind of showed a bunch of stuff. So Hogwarts Legacy, for me at least, showed it was a fun game. I liked it. I own it. No shame in it. Sora finally gave up on it.
Wow.
But I think we'll feel the effects of what Hogwarts Legacy kind of caused for years down the road, because all anybody has to do is go, well, how did you react to Hogwarts Legacy? Oh, you were one of those assholes? Oh, I'm not going to listen to you now. Goodbye.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in terms of the woke stuff, right, the woke cancel stuff, I think if you present most people want to be perceived as being good. Okay. Yeah, some of them even want to actually be good, but most people want to be perceived as being good.
Oh yeah.
And if you just like show them a picture of a sea turtle choking on one of those beer can 6-pack ring holder things, or you give them a concrete example of a thing or a handful of things they can do, they will largely get in line because they want to be perceived as being good. But if every single thing is an open wound, like if everything is top priority, nothing's top priority.
Yep.
People just sort of lose focus and just don't care. So whether they're running out of gas or people because they're being rejected,
do it.
or people are just woke fatigued to the point where they're just not participating. I don't know. I don't know I don't know which it is, but either way, I'm happy.
Well, it's also kind of in a weird way, for me at least, kind of shown that something my grandfather said a long time ago. He's like, on the broad sense, everybody can agree. The problem when people have is when you get to the nitty gritty of it all.
Mm-hmm.
You can agree, well, yeah, bigotry's bad. Okay, well, what do you consider bigotry? How would you fix the bigotry? Oh, I don't agree with how you do that because that's being a bigot to stop a bigot. Now, you can't do, like, he's like, that's where the issues come from, is that you can say, I'm for world peace, all right, so how do we do it? And you can get a room full of 50 people who say they want world peace, and if you get them to try to explain how they want it done and not just the blanket, well, I think politicians, no, how would you actually do it? He's like, all of them will disagree, or at least more than half of them will disagree with each other, because it's real easy to say, I want world peace. It's harder to come up with the way to actually do it.
Yeah, in the abstract.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing and I think in a weird way Hogwarts kind of proved that, because there were people who like, well, I'm just not going to buy the game because they didn't agree with J.K. Rowling. There were people who like, well, no, these people need to be made to suffer, and the people who were like, who didn't buy the game, they were just like, okay, that's taking it a little too far. Y'all need to calm down. And then they got mad, and then the people who were screaming bigotry and wanting to dox people were like, how dare you, we need to fight this, you're a Nazi. And they're like, okay, I'm gonna go this way now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna back up, just over here, just back on up. So same question, Skep, and I know you're like, what, pick one? Yes, pick one.
I'm sorry, with respect, re-ask the question, please.
The question is there something that happened in 2023 that was either like incredibly interesting or incredibly important that you would like to sort of single out from what happened last year? I mean, is there something, I want you to basically nominate a topic from last year, or I guess this year, 2023. Something that you found interesting or compelling or important.
Yeah.
It's it's a broad question. I mean,
the growth of the Starlink system, and more broadly, the phenomenon that is Elon Musk.
Yeah, I think he's man of the year. There's no question about that.
By far, I think if you want to talk about the dynamic part of American enterprise, he's the hardest bowl of it right now.
Well, yeah, I agree. That's right up there. I mean, and I mentioned AI, so you know what mine is. By the way, Sora will hopefully be joining us later.
AI would be also.
Yeah, but you don't understand. Time picked their person of the year. It was Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Sarcasm.
It was
Heavy
Swift.
sarcasm.
Yeah.
Heavy
No.
sarcasm.
What? Seriously, was it Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
No.
I thought it was. Hold
Yeah,
on. Let me double.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah. The Swifties are insane. Yeah. Time 2023 person of the year. It's Taylor Swift.
Well, there you go. But we have
nobody.
to, let's just leave that little turd in the punch bowl and for now, and we'll
Please.
and just take a look at this. So
Jesus.
Sora sent me this. It's Britannica's 2023 year in review. Now, I have intentionally not looked at this just because I wanted to see what they thought there was. So the funeral of
Taylor.
Pope Benedict. And of course, then there's this complete non-event. The Doomsday Clock advances. I don't care what the Union of Concerned Scientists.
No
I
one
don't give a crap.
They've got about as much credibility in terms of their predictions as the Southern Poverty Law Center does in identifying racism.
When they had some credibility, the last time they had any credibility was maybe in the late 1960s.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I donated money to them in the 70s. I sent them, like my milk money or something. I forget what it was. But
The minute you move it forward because Trump won, I stopped caring what you think.
so we've got sports
I
ball.
would say the Doomsday Clock was legitimate with the Cuban Missile Crisis, probably.
Yeah, agreed.
That was 1963. 1962.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's why when you said 60s, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, actually. Sorry.
I can see
I mean, I don't think
was
that almost anything in February is really all that important. I mean, I like a good Vermeer as much as the next person, but the fact that there were more of them in one place, it's like, okay, this is not important.
It's like, that's cool, but Vermeer's not, like, he's a good, like, it's good art, but it's not that good.
I really like Vermeer, actually.
Vermeer?
I saw Vermeer.
Vermeer is amazing.
I saw a Vermeer
I
exhibit at the National Gallery in the 90s. I happened to be in DC. When I went to that trip where I almost died, I got to go to the National Portrait Gallery and see the Vermeers.
Damn Harry.
And then
Isn't that amazing?
and then I staggered through that underground tunnel to the modern wing on the other side and got to see a Calder and a Rothko exhibit. So overall, it was a good time to be delirious, and I picked a great time to be there. But
I like Vermeer too, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like it's awesome they were all together, but okay.
Yeah,
that was my kind of stance.
It seems like a bit of a nothing burger. Well,
yeah, it's just like
we don't have time to talk about Vermeer's place in art history right now.
Oh yeah,
no.
Maybe some other night. But Taylor Swift, the fact that Taylor Swift is enough of a seismic force that she's making these lists is almost annoying to me. But there's the SpaceX stuff.
They're probably going to talk about Beyonce here again.
Yeah. Don't care about
country, that. The 31st country joining NATO is really cool, though.
Yeah, the coronation of King Charles III.
Oh, God, that country's screwed.
Yeah, I know. Well, there was the little submersible that couldn't. That was a thing. And then the
Barbie released. Oh boy.
The Barbie movie, and then Barbenheimer, right? And then I guess did Elon buy Twitter in 2023, or was that 20? Okay.
Well, no, that's when he rebranded it. It was I
was trying to remember when the purchase took place.
I think it was 2022, but he rebranded it as X this year.
The Maui wildfires certainly important. That's a big deal. Yeah, and then of course, the whole Middle Eastern thing. It's like the unsinkable, unflushable story from the Middle East. It just never goes anywhere. Yeah, I feel like this is a pretty terrible. This is a pretty terrible list, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, and then finally some good news. Right, Henry Kissinger died. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad, honestly.
Oh yeah, Elon bought Twitter on April 14th, 2022.
Nice.
So he just rebranded it this year.
Yeah. Well, screw this
Sandra
list.
Day O'Connor. And there's Beyonce. I knew Beyonce would be on this list.
I feel like we already need a palate cleanser. Most
of this stuff is just nothing burgers. It's not so much a palate cleanser to
or
me,
things that make me.
Okay, let's make fun of somebody, shall we?
Yay.
Okay.
Yay.
So this is a motorcycle that this guy has built. He calls it Night Shadow.
Oh God, that looks like something from a bad '80s American
Thundercats. That's Panthro's bike.
Yeah.
I saw this and thought, this is so terrible.
It's so bad.
Words are hard.
Yeah, it's basically
the color looks awful.
The front part, it looks like he just took one of those bad '80s statues that you'd see in like a pimped penthouse.
It looks like he's doing something indecent to a cat sculpture, is what it looks like.
Yeah, it does.
It's time to saddle up.
Slips backwards.
Good old Night Shadow.
Bend over and get a little pussy.
Time for nice.
Elwin's doing some weird dance at us. I don't know.
Is it the Night Shadow dance?
Is that the Night Shadow dance?
I don't know.
I've never heard it called that before, but okay.
All right.
Nightshade dance. God, that's just dude, tell me you were a nerd who never got any.
So I think I forgot to cover this one last week, which is they found a dead fin whale on the beach in San Diego. And you know what the culprit was? Orcas, because they're assholes.
Yeah.
God.
Stupid orcas. There aren't that many fin whales in the world, and orcas are running around going chompy on them. Stupid orcas.
You mean they're not vegan?
No, they're not vegan.
Orcas? No, not exactly.
So.
Oh, it looks like a big dolphin. The fin whale does.
So there was this thing that came on. I know how much you love the Critical Drinker functionals. That's why I had to talk about this. But one of the topics that they brought up was what they call the implosion of the superhero genre. Now, it's pretty obvious that things did not go well for cape movies this year. because if you look at the box office, with the exception of Guardians, which is sort of a sentimental favorite, right? Everybody loves Chris Pratt. It did okay. So it pulled in almost 850 million worldwide. That's not a bad number for such a thing. And then the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse pulled in, 690. But if you look at the rest of the Cape movies that came out last year, these are pretty miserable numbers. I mean, and you may have seen the thumbnail that I put up for the show tonight. It has a picture from that stupid Flash movie. So last 2 days ago, I noticed that it was available on Amazon Prime for free. I'm like, whatever.
You watched it, didn't you?
I said, I'm going to watch it. Okay.
Oh, no.
Now, we all have a list of tropes that drive us absolutely crazy. Now, two of mine, which are basically misuse of time travel and superheroes losing their powers.
It's a Flash movie. Those both happen. I know
that Flash movie is terrible, and it managed to actually hit both notes, both tropes, in like the beginning of the movie. And if it had been a theater, I would have walked out. As it was, I just changed the channel. I mean, the guy they have playing him is unlikable. I don't know why anybody would cast that guy. The whole story is just kind of terrible. I'd much rather just watch reruns of the John Wesley Ship thing with Amanda Pays from the TV in the 1990s. It was just not. It was just not good. It was good.
It just got canceled because it couldn't find its footing.
Hey, it had Mark Hamill as a guest star twice. I mean, that's good.
That's awesome.
Mark Hamill's cool.
It was a good
Mark
show.
Hamill's very cool.
It was on Fox, wasn't it? I think it was on Fox.
Yeah.
Because Fox during that time they didn't know how to market that kind of stuff at all, and it just kind of fell prey to Fox's ineptitude.
But what do we think about the state of modern movies and entertainment? Because
I think it's fine.
You think the MCU and the DC cinematic universe are both doing okay?
Doing okay? No, I mean, I have to reiterate how things haven't changed that much.
Yeah.
People want to harken back to the good old days of like the 90s or even the early aughts, and I'm like, yeah, okay, there were some good gems. We always love finding the gems, but art and entertainment has always been, 85% crap. It's just today, because we have huge mega juggernauts with literally hundreds of billions of dollars behind them, pumping out garbage like Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, etc. It's more in our face.
Okay, dude. 2019 for comparison. I bring up 2019. Look at the top things and look at the worldwide grosses. Okay, you've got a bunch of them over $1 billion.
Yeah, but
nine. No, hold on. 9, in fact, over $1 billion, and we're not even adjusting for inflation. Okay, now then we go to 2023. And look at what the numbers look like. You've got two standouts, Barbie and the Super Mario movie. And then Oppenheimer almost hit $1 billion and everything else is dropping off. This does not look like a healthy industry to me. Plus, the movie I saw recently was crap, so I'm in a bad mood. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's going to happen, though, when the economy's bad all over the world. Like, this drop-off's going to happen.
Yeah. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, that's developmental drilling. Okay, that should have.
They're fracking that franchise. Is what they're doing.
They are. That's exact. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly.
But okay, so go back to 2022 because things like Endgame. Endgame is a culmination of the previous 12 years of movie making, where some of the best movies, superhero movies, were ever made. You had Captain America, Winter Soldier, you had Iron Man, you had the first Thor. These were really great movies. Like, I really enjoyed them as both a comics fan and a cinephile. I thought, they weren't the most perfect of movies, but they were great storytelling of printed media on the screen. Wow, number 9, that's rough. Only made 117,000.
It's Watergate Bridge. It's
something
wasn't
like
really marketed here.
Yeah, that's almost all foreign.
This is 2022. What was the one you showed me before? Was it
2019?
2019. Sorry.
Well, I was trying to go back
2019.
to
I just wanted to
before
use a similar
pandemic.
comparison. Yeah.
Okay, so
But I
before
wanna-
the pandemic,
so-
look at these numbers. This is a
But
much
then-
more robust looking industry.
Also, look at what you have here. You have another one. A lot of it is sequels to stuff, or Rise of Skywalker did that well.
Yeah.
I guess
All of the Star Wars
foreign-
movies did over
I
the
tend to not look
billions.
at foreign. I only look at domestic because.
Yeah.
And then you also have to consider the amount of money put into a movie versus how much it made.
2018. Okay, 2018. Aquaman
Infinity
did
War,
over
Black
$1 billion.
Panther.
Aquaman.
Aquaman 2 didn't do that. I can tell you that right now.
Okay, then you go Aquaman 2. I'm gonna have to scroll. Okay, let me see.
Yeah,
Where is
it's-
it? It's
I think we're on Aquaman 3, aren't we? I
No,
thought
it's
we were-
only the
the
second one.
Marvels came in at number
Aquaman
25.
2 did, yeah,
Okay.
Aquaman 2 is not out yet, I don't believe.
Oh, okay.
But I again to the first question. I don't think that there's like superhero fatigue. There's just fatigue of shitty properties. Like people are sick and tired of.
What's Aquaman and
a
the
remake
Lost
of Willy
Kingdom?
Wonka, a remake of Creed, the next Creed movie, the next fucking Frozen movie. People just like mostly don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
If you were to put out a good Ninja Turtles or Captain Marvel or there's a new Spawn coming out that actually has got me a
That's
little
been in
titillated.
development hell
There's
for
a
like
new
8 years.
Alien movie coming out that's got me a little bit titillated. And I mean, sure, taking the Alien franchise, the first two are some of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh yeah.
The third
Yeah.
one, ugh. Then the fourth one, I was kind of like, okay, this is acceptable. Then the fifth one, then the
Yeah.
next one, it's acceptable. So I mean, it's a lot of back and forth. And it's
That's just
really-
about exactly how I felt too.
I mean, they go up and down. It's kind of like Star Trek
Yeah, it
movies.
really
like you have a
was.
good one,
It
and then
was
you have
just
one
like
you're kind of
that.
like, eh.
Well-
Yes.
And I think sometimes also there is fatigue, and that fatigue is going to happen. We've seen this happen over and over and over and over and over again with movies. The issue is that also there's a lot of people who don't want to spend money on movies, especially now that streaming is a thing. Whether you sail the high seas or not, there's a lot of people who just want to sit at home and do it. Considering in some cases
Yeah,
it's
the theater
cheaper.
industry is hurting.
Mhm.
But there's also just the fact of like, there's people like me who just don't care. I have not seen a single Guardians of the Galaxy since 1 because I don't give a shit.
Hey, I tried to
I-
watch that Flash thing. I tried.
I mean, I respect you for that.
I
like,
tried, and
We
it
all
was
do.
so
It's like-
insufferable.
But it's like I've seen Five Nights at Freddy's
Yeah.
because I love Five Nights at Freddy's, and it was a good movie in my opinion. And I've seen the Ghibli movie, The Boy and the Blue Heron. Those are the only movies I've seen in the last year
Mm-hmm.
because I just don't care. I don't like none of the movies, and I'm not a big movie person in that sense anyway. I just think a lot of people, the streaming, it makes it cheaper. Whether you sail, like I said, whether you sail the high seas or not, they'll do their thing. I just think a lot of people are just
Yeah.
like, or
I've
just
got
kind
a
of.
question about the data, Harry. Do you have the budget? What the budget was to make these movies as a column?
I don't have as a column, but I don't think more because we're looking at is the demand side, right? Not how much
Right.
it costs to make
Absolutely.
it. If anything, like for instance, in terms of the Kate movies, so we have down here.
Most of the Kate movies are anywhere from 200 million to 275 million. Usually.
I think, well, that's without promotion and stuff.
Well, yeah, but
as
the
a rule of
rule-
thumb, you tack on a 50% on.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you do a 1.5 or you do double the number, and
Yeah.
that's usually what it is.
Yeah, in terms of Barbie made money hand over fist. Super Mario,
Yeah, and
Oppenheimer.
surprisingly, Barbie's advertising was only 150.
Oppenheimer was a relatively small budget, but of course, Guardians. They probably didn't make a ton of money on Guardians by the time they paid out
think
all
they
those
did.
salaries and stuff.
Well, the problem with what's happening with Guardians, the way you account for this is you do this fixed versus variable kind of cost accounting. That this gets spread with costs from earlier development and stuff like that, it's very, very hard to evaluate what this one does, because you got to kind of evaluate all of them together.
Well, okay, so the third Guardians of the Galaxy, the initial budget, at least what the internet says, was $250 million, which is about average for what is allowed.
Yeah. So it's probably like 400 million total with promotions and everything.
It's 400 to 500 million, but yeah, around there.
So
Volume 2 was 200 million budget, $200 million.
So they made 400 million off of it.
Yeah, they on
better than a
average
sharp
make
poke in the eye.
they on average, and this is and the thing is like, as we've all learned from George Lucas, the money isn't made with how much they make at the box office. Like, it's a good help. It helps, and it's nice.
Right.
What the merchandising is where money is made.
Merchandising.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's.
I
kind
have
of
a
like,
Yodel lunchbox. No, just,
dude, like,
no, I don't.
But it's one of those things where it's kind of like how much money is made off the merchandising, off the T-shirts, off the toys, off everything, because that stuff is a little bit harder to pirate.
Well, you
have
hit
you been
on
to Chinatown?
a key point there, because that's the thing that's been killing the Star Wars franchise more than the movies. Yes, the movies are the contributing factor. That's ground zero. But the merchandising, the toy sales, the collectibles, all that, the sales for that have gone through the floor, and that has hurt.
Oh, really? No demand for those, huh?
Yeah, I mean, even with even with New Trek, as kind of dirty and insidious as that is, insidious,
hideous.
The Kelvin universe sucks.
Even the, like, I can go out now, go to the model shop and pick up an Enterprise D or E or whatever, and those things are still selling. So it's kind of the same effect that Guardians is having from Marvel, is that's life support. It's keeping them afloat. It's not really doing anything. It's not breaking new ground. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you just can watch a movie and just go, this is fun. Like, that's how I feel about the first Avengers. It wasn't a great movie. There was lots of plot holes, but I could turn off my analytical cinephile brain and go, hey, this is actually entertaining.
Yeah, Chris Pratt's extremely likable.
Being rammed down my throat. It's just superheroes being superheroes.
Empty-headed
and
fun.
Shiny stuff is happening. And
shiny explosions.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there was a message that boys need their fathers. Let me see.
It's true.
Let me see. So this is a thing, because we've talked about video games a little bit, and of course, I would really like to play City Skylines 2, but I can't because I'm a Mac person. But I was looking at some of the new indie games that are coming out just for fun.
Yes.
And there's this new thing here. Steam's newest hit city builder has near perfect reviews and asks the brave question, what if Lemmings but capitalism? Okay. So this game is positively weird, and I almost can't stop watching it. This is a video showing like what the gameplay sort of looks like for this thing. So there's this giant rock, and when you hit the rock, shards come off it. Now, shards are good. Shards let you do things and make things. So the whole point of this is to hit the rock. You can hit it with your head. You can project missiles at it. You can do bombs on it, whatever. But the more you abuse the rock, the more shards come off. And then you build this little town. And I got to say, the music doesn't bother me. Because it's basically 16-bit Bach. Okay.
What happened? That's interesting. What happens when the rock is gone?
It doesn't go, it's not depletable.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Infinite resources.
Infinite resources and perpetual motion machine.
I mean, I think this is a fantastic example of an indie game. You know, like
it's definitely creative.
Yeah, it looks
it's
wonderful.
creative. It looks fun.
Great fun.
I like the soundtrack.
It's got a nice look to it that I really like.
It's like
it's weird. It's weird too.
I realize I'm just strange, and this is probably not good.
I feel the attraction.
Married with Children, Saturday Night Live.
Hey, I only use this for streaming. That's the only thing I use this account for. What did we get?
Right.
All right. Saturday Night Live.
SNL.
Hey, us. Get this.
That's pretty funny. We're live. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty exciting. All right.
Just quickly, like, because I know Serenity, you're a huge fan of Baldur's Gate 3, and that was a big game that that one game of the year last year. Not that these
This year it did.
Yeah.
Personally, I my issue with Baldur's Gate, it is a very good game, but to me personally, Hogwarts Legacy should have won it. But that was never it was the TGAs. They were never going to give it to. They were never going to even nominate Hogwarts Legacy.
Something that kind of came in as a sleeper that's in the vein of Baldur's Gate 3 of being one of those really kind of like hard RPG games was Rogue Trader. The difference is
I've heard good things about Rogue Trader.
It's so different from any kind of RPG I've played because its setting is the Warhammer 40K universe.
Yep.
And things that I would consider to be good and moral in today's universe
Is
or
not.
in the D&D setting is considered weak and
yeah.
pathetic and the wrong choice in that game. And I'm like, this is incredible. I'm making the wrong choices.
So I was looking at the indie games that are coming out next year, though, and there's a bunch of them that look, I mean, to my mind, pretty cool. I know you guys like the big AAA games, like certainly.
I'm the one who likes the big AAA games. Functional goes either direction.
Yeah,
I just like good games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll go through the Humble Bundle and buy
little
like
kitty, big
games.
city. You can just be a cat, and then like, okay, here's a description of a game which sounds amazing. I can't imagine a AAA game having this as a budget, getting a budget for this. Ghost Bike is a new adventure from Don't Care. Playing as a streetwise kid from Free Hub City, you set out to bring back ghost bikes, who are said to be magical couriers that rode between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Go on. With races along with a variety of different challenges to take you on, you can explore what is described as a semi-open world and discover bike parts to customize your pair of wheels. It looks like one very stylized, intriguing action adventure with a unique concept. That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be
Tiny
fun.
Glade I've been watching. Tiny Glade looks like it could be good because that's the kind of ones I like.
This Pacific Drive thing is kind of like your survival game, except you have a station wagon and you're driving around on the Olympic Peninsula. Why, I don't know.
Pacific Driver is very similar to an indie game that came out a few years ago, which I'm curious to see if it's the same developer. Because if it's not, I think someone has a lawsuit on their hands.
Ironwood Studios.
I'm gonna have to hunt the game down.
Yeah.
But it's I am a AAA game RPG person. I am a farming sim person, and I'm a racing game person.
Okay, but here's
Those
Serenity.
are the things I care about.
You know me reasonably well from all the time we've talked. What do you think about me for this game? Loose Leafus is an upcoming T-Witch simulator from Boyfriend Dungeon developer Kit Fox Games. As you manage a tea room, you will get to grips with what promises to be the most in-depth tea simulator, which puts you in control of elements such as temperature and timing of your brews. As you pick ingredients and place them in the chosen cup, you will work to unlock more recipes as you go about trying to make just the right cup of tea for your guests. But all of your visitors have troubles of their own to share, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? It's really about tea.
Well, it's one of those things where it's kind of like there's a thing that's come about in the last about 5 years called cozy games.
Yeah.
And that's a cozy game. And I like cozy games to a point, but there has to be... Like,
it's the gaming equivalent of those atmosphere videos you get on YouTube.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm okay with those to a point, but at the same time, I want actual story. I want actual, like, characters that interact with each other. I want actual dialogue. If you don't want to give me dialogue choices, that is fine, but make sure you actually make an engaging story. It's kind of like, I don't like visual novels because visual novels almost always are nothing but talking and I don't get very little choice or control. It's one of the things I like Baldur's Gate about is that I can be a little snit if I want to. It's one of the things that I think could have been done better about Hogwarts Legacy. I didn't feel like I had that much control with Hogwarts Legacy. Not really about what my character was like. And it's one of those things where it's kind of like for people who I guess just want to... the cozy games that go that route, I don't know who those are for. They're apparently popular enough for people to make them, but I'm like...
Well, apparently they're for Harry and...
Apparently.
I only play like city builder sim things mostly.
Well, it's like I like Railroad Simulator too because I like trains. I've always liked trains. I grew up in West
What
Virginia.
about Farm
There's trains
Simulator?
everywhere. I don't like Farm Simulator just because there's too much shit involved.
The fact that it exists
I like farm
hilarious.
sims.
Yeah.
I like farm sims. Like the games I play Sandrock and Coral Island are farm sims, but there's more to it than just farming.
Well, this all
So
looks better
I
than
like 'em.
Shower with Your Dad simulator.
Oh God, ew.
That is a terrible simulator. Didn't I show that one time?
Yes, you did. We're not going to go there. Shut up.
I think it was after the show. That I showed
Between
that.
you and Sora, just showing me games where I'm like, why are you showing me?
Why
this
does
shit?
this exist?
Why are you showing me this? I don't
Okay.
really know
35 of the internet.
that. Yeah, tell me about
Let's
it.
see, where are we in terms of time? Okay, so we're 50 minutes in. This other stuff is going to depress me, so I'm just going to mention it really quickly. Let me just get through two of these things, and then we'll
Speed
talk
round.
about the real thing, which is my taxes are going to go up. Thanks a lot, because why I have to pay more taxes, I don't fucking know, but yeah, happy to do my part.
Iranians are dying.
Yeah, because I think it's important to just like
Wait,
raise the
what?
marginal tax rate for people in the middle class by another 1%. Why not?
Sure.
Why not?
Cheese and crackers. What the heck?
That's the state income tax
know,
rate.
It's like Newsom wants people to move.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot like
Millionaires
that.
leave. Millionaires leave.
Yeah, just let's disincentivize them. Yeah, what's a 1.33% among friends, right?
Oh my God.
It's fine. It's fine. Everything's great. But then, but if you look at this, a lot of this stuff is actually hitting the middle class. So suppose you make
it always does.
$60,000 a year. Your marginal tax rate just went up almost a full percent.
Oh yeah.
And we're talking about people that by California standards do not make a lot of money.
Nope.
Okay, this is the suck. This is really not good. Then you add this to it. So PG&E is going to get a 13% rate increase
Jesus.
on January 1st, and they asked for 20 something, and they immediately after this one got approved, put in another request for the remainder of what they didn't get.
Oh,
Okay, but you've already heard me rail against the Public Utility Commission, but here's the thing we can actually talk about briefly. California Pizza Hut operators cutting all delivery driver jobs in 2024 due to minimum wage increase.
Sounds about right.
I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. Skep, would you like a piece of this? I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Well, yeah, this is what happens when an artificial price boost, a cost boost comes in, and the entrepreneur says, wait, I have no corresponding increase in income, and he has to make a cut. And so the big companies make a big judgment about this all at one time, and that's what Pizza Hut has done here. They've said this is just too expensive, and our profit model doesn't work that way, so we've got to let them go. Well done, Governor Newsom.
Well, it's like if you because
That was not a
I'm-
great looking pizza, though.
it's Pizza Hut.
To be fair.
I am a
Oh, that's mean.
I like to run around on realty websites to like look at houses in different areas, and it's like there's a reason why in California there are houses that are beautiful in beautiful areas that are not. They're still expensive, but for California they're not bad. That have been sitting empty for 400 plus days, like.
Oh, they'll be empty for 5 years now.
Oh, I know. But that's the thing is like it's one of those things where it's kind of like you have, and I don't like using this word because the word pisses me off. But there's a lot of copium going on. Of they're just moving to this other part. It's like, no, honey. I see a lot of California license plates in West Virginia, and we still have income tax here. That's not including states like Tennessee. Is Texas have income tax or no?
No income tax.
It's not like Tennessee or Texas
See you soon,
or any of
Skep.
those states. Yeah,
What's-
it's like.
What?
Like how many people like he's saying he's moving,
No.
but
Come
it's
on.
one of those things where it's kind of like, like unless this is a move to like cause blue voters to go to red areas to vote blue, which is a stupid antiquated thought process to do. Like the only other thing I can figure is that because Newsom got on his knees for Xi, that Xi's gonna help take care of some of this. I still don't even know, but yeah. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like how there's already like YouTubers, because it used to be YouTubers used to move to Los Angeles because that's where you could like collaborate and do all this other stuff.
Yeah, like the
there's so many
stream houses and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's not even that, just YouTubers who were friends. Like, there's YouTubers who've moved all the way to the East Coast. A lot of them have moved to North Carolina because of this crap, and it's just like, if California doesn't vote in someone with a frickin' head on their shoulders and who isn't a greedy son of a, California may not come back from it.
You're asking for a miracle.
Or it may take at least 50 years for California to come back from it.
I don't know if it'll take that long, but it's bad. Go functional, and then I'm going to move to the next thing.
So you know who's actually kicking ass is the Pizza Hut classics that have been popping up all over the northern United States.
Yep.
They've been going back to that, previous 80s model. They have the lunch salad buffet and everything.
Oh, do they? Are they really doing that?
Yeah, and they're doing well. They're actually doing well compared to.
I guess if you don't have a Rax near you, you might as well, right?
The other thing is, with the eliminating of the delivery driver jobs, they're reducing their overhead.
Wow.
Obviously, that's not going to trickle down to their product. Why? It's because services like DoorDash, Grubhub, and Uber Eats, and all those, they've basically
are more competitive.
Exactly, and
Cheaper,
so
yeah.
these companies can rely on that without having to pay a wage.
They're entrepreneurial.
Gosh, I can't remember if we've had this conversation functional or if I was just planning on doing it and then you missed the show. Did we have a discussion about what Grubhub and DoorDash charge functional?
No.
What percentage do you think DoorDash takes off of the gross for the orders that they deliver?
Now you have to remember this is American he's talking about. Canada's probably going to be a little bit different.
I would imagine it's something ridiculously low, like 5%.
30.
I was going to say 20.
No,
Yeah.
it is
I thought it was
30.
20.
I
No,
didn't
it's
believe.
30.
I didn't think it was 30 either until I talked to a friend of mine who runs a really good Mexican restaurant, and she 30.
Uh-huh.
Because
Oh, that's not even the worst of it. Like,
Wow.
also, if
That's
people call
astonishing.
in and say, "Oh, my order was messed up," mostly Grubhub, and I've dealt with DoorDash a couple times too, they'll just automatically refund you and then charge the restaurant.
Yeah.
So not only they're charging the 30, they're charging the restaurant again.
yeah, it's a lot of overhead. I mean, this is coming from a person who thinks that credit cards put too much overhead in the economy.
Well, not wrong.
Just like somewhere between 1.6 and 3 or 4%.
Not wrong here,
That's
not wrong.
honestly surprising to me because I thought that they did it based on volume rather than such a large percentage because of how readily both businesses and consumers took to these services.
Well, they may do
so if
different
they-
deals with some larger retailers, but the small
And it's probably
restaurants,
different between companies. Sure.
but it's still going to be a lot. For all the restaurants
think
that I
they
eat at, it's a lot. Because I was trying to figure out why a really good torta is like $16.95 at the restaurant and $22 if I go, even if I do DoorDash for pickup. It's because they've tacked 30% on top of it, and that's what they have to do.
Well, it's like that. There was a joke on all of the social medias not too long ago. It's like, yeah, I had a hard day, but it's like, yeah, I'll pay $30 for a bowl of pho, and I'm sitting there going, someone needs to smack you. First off, it's like, oh, but I had a hard day. Walk your lazy ass there after work. My God, Jesus. But I mean, that's the thing. That's the problem. Is that a lot of the reason why they're still somewhat profitable and they still are somewhat needed is because of the fact that there are entire groups of people who are multiple generations. This is not just one generation pulling this crap. Just don't want to cook. Like, it's like, oh, I had a hard day. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sure the bricklayer had a hard
True.
day too.
Yeah.
It's like,
But
That's true.
Yes, but I'm also thankful for those idiots because it allows for that system to exist for somebody like myself who does cook almost all the time. When I do have a day where it's just like, I just cannot stand, I cannot even like see straight. I need to just Elwin and I need to order something so we can have food in our bellies, and we'll deal with the fallout later. So, I mean, it is kind of a double-edged sword, but I do agree with you that it is kind of pathetic that, and we've harped on this before, like, it should be something that should be taught in school. This is an important thing. People, men, women, it doesn't matter. Everybody should learn the basics of food prep and your own meal preparation so that, you can be ready for the world instead of, there's 8 genders or whatever.
Well, it's one of those things where it's kind of like there's good and bad to everything, but at the same time is like the reason why they can charge 30% is because there's people who are just like, I'm going to pay over, right?
Hold on. Why is Assassin of the Grey saying there's no such thing as a good Mexican restaurant?
Assassin of the Grey.
That's like, okay, well, agree to disagree, sir.
Wait, what is it? Wait.
He literally said there is no such thing, in all caps, as a good, air quotes, Mexican restaurant.
It's like,
Well,
okay.
Wait.
You started it, Harry.
Wait, stop. Because does good refer to Mexican or does good refer to restaurant? Is this a good restaurant of Mexican food, or is it a restaurant that caters only to good Mexicans?
Well, he's literally it's air quotes around good Mexican restaurant.
That's what I think.
And then, are we talking good in the theological sense?
Yeah.
In the
No. This is more good in a metaphorical.
I can tell you
nonsensical
that
sense.
my dad, when I was a little kid, I did not like Mexican food at all, and my dad had this place that he thought was the best. Okay, and I remember as a family going there when I was just a little kid, thinking, "My God, this is the worst meal I've ever had." It was sad and bad.
But
And there's a lot of
had good Mexican food. How did that make you feel? That was.
But the weird thing is, I grew up not having access to good stuff, and then other than European stuff, my grandmother could whip up English food and continental food easily, not a problem. She's a really good cook. But she couldn't make a vegetable to save her life or make a legume that I would want to eat. It was Indian food that kind of brought me around and was really opened my eyes. And then I circled back to Mexican food and just realized that any culture where little old ladies get up at 3 a.m. and combine 30 ingredients in a pot, and it takes like a day to make, you're going to get something good out the other end sometimes.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
I like abuela food.
Oh, really?
I like a lot of that stuff, and I don't like the hardcore. I'm a little too privileged to eat tripe and tongue and stuff. I know it's good, but I just don't.
I will not touch that.
I'm too much of an East Coaster. I like Cuban food.
Let me ask you: have you ever had cabrita?
No.
The goat stew. Oh my God! It is just wonderful. It tastes like lamb.
But I do think there's good Mexican food out there, but it may be the case that some people don't like it. Like I said, I've told people I don't like Korean food, and I'm sure it's actually just a me thing.
Yeah, I like Korean food, but I can understand it because the spices.
Yeah, there's a taste to it which I just don't. That doesn't work for me.
Well, it's the reason why I like. If it was,
I like Korean food, but I can only have it for so long.
For me, it's like if it was a choice between Mexican food or Cuban food, I would choose Cuban food every single time.
Well, anyway, I don't want to seem like I'm attacking the chat.
Okay, so anyway.
We're not attacking us.
We're not attacking the chat. Like I said, agree to disagree. I was just so taken aback by that statement that I threw me off.
That's the great thing about chat.
Everybody's got their own spice.
Hey,
stuff.
Skep, have you?
Yes.
Did you wake up this morning wondering what Scott McNeely had to say about anything?
No, absolutely.
Well, here, let me help you
Thought
with
about
that.
him in a minute.
It's like, don't fix that, Harry.
Scott McNeely, the guy who basically one of the founders of Sun Microsystems, made the following comment: "If you can't keep your property unless you don't pay, if you can't keep your property unless you don't pay taxes, payola to the government, do you really own it? Do you own your car, your job, your earnings, your investments, your inheritance, etc.? Misspelled because you have to pay off the government at every step along the way, or you lose." Well, I think ownership is actually really important, and I think just to
really
sort of
own anything
to sort of illustrate the point, there's a family here that was covered in this Cal Matters article. They lived in an East LA home for almost 30 years. Now their landlords want to move in. And I'm just like, yeah, that's a thing that happens. I mean,
Wow.
I'm sympathetic. I really am. But the fact that you decided to rent for 30 years, yeah, the person who actually owns the thing now wants to move into the property. And that means you have to leave.
Yep. Sad.
It's
but
one of
yep.
the
Well,
it's one of the outlier provisions up here as well. Is that one of the like basically no questions asked kind of ways to immediately evict up here is either the owner or a direct family member of the owner will be moving into the property, and that's just sort of like a see ya. Sorry, thanks for letting me rent this place for as long as I have.
well, here's the thing. They've been living in a home as though they owned it. There's not a difference between the way that they live in that home, if they own it or renting it. They live there. And so for 30 years, they pay a substantially lower monthly rate. That accrues a substantial amount of wealth. Now, if they have been putting some of that aside as responsible and, just as a contingency for something exactly like this, as anybody who thought about it for 5 seconds should occur to them, yeah, maybe I ought to think about doing that. So I'm saving a lot of money. I'm afraid they didn't. I think they were probably, barely able to make the rent.
That's an awful
And
fancy look.
this happened.
Rent was a hurdle for them. Anyway,
This happened to me and my family. The house that I grew up in, that my mother and father rented, in the late 90s, 98, 99, they wanted to sell the house. So we had to, whatever. And it's like, yeah, that was our home. But I mean, I understood the fact that, hey, for a 4-bedroom house on a lot that's 3 times the size of any other lot in all of Toronto, the side yard lot was the size of 2 other lots on my street alone. So it was a massive property. 850 Canadian a month.
Not bad.
wow.
Especially for their late 90s. That's not bad.
I
Not at
paid
all.
twice of that for my fucking tiny, well, not tiny, but my 1-bedroom apartment.
Smaller
it's
than that.
So you're right. The disparity of the earnings is huge to begin with, and had anybody had any sense of the situation, which you should, if you're a renter, you should, even if you're a homeowner, you're looking at the market. You should know what the average is going on out there, so that you can, know you're not going to live here for. It might be 30 years, might be 40 years, might be 5. You don't know.
I actually rented a place for 5 years in Dallas. I lived in this apartment for 5 years while I was going to graduate school and while I was a stockbroker. Stockbroker first, and then went to graduate school. Yeah, and it was $245 a month when I started school. When I started as a stockbroker. By the time I finished grad school, it was up to $270 a month.
Yeah. Well, the point of this is that it's not so much a problem that needs to be solved. I mean, except maybe in that course when we're teaching people how to make better choices with their investments, we just say, yes, taxation is theft, but if you want to actually have a home that's really your home, you have to have equity in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's you get a
Bingo.
whole bunch of additional rights if you're smart enough not to get a second mortgage on it. Even if you go bankrupt, you can still keep your castle.
Yep.
Right.
But it's one of those things. It's kind of like, and we're not going down the student loans turnpike.
No.
But just to use an example, it's like the amount of people I heard who banked on student loans getting forgiven and just didn't pay their student loans is astronomical, higher than it should ever have been. And that's kind of and it's kind of similar to this. It's like people keep expecting stuff to go away, and that's a lovely concept, and that should be a bright hope future, but you should never plan for what you hope for. You should plan for the worst.
Yes, but when you have the most powerful organizations telling you and feeding you along this trail of breadcrumbs to eventually hit with nothing, yes, you are the only person who is responsible for you. That's it. But I do kind of empathize in the fact that they're being fed a load of shit by, air quotes, the highest authorities in the land. Ugh. It's mixed messaging. It's not right.
Yeah, well, that's like blaming Spuds McKenzie for your cirrhosis of the liver. I mean, ultimately, I mean, he's a cool dog. You probably don't even know who Spuds McKenzie is.
Spuds is a girl.
No, but that's like the FDA saying, no, smoking's good for you.
Yeah. Or how dare you make fast food so delicious that some people can't stop eating it.
The jab is perfectly safe. You're not going to get myocarditis.
Yeah. So I understand. I mean, there's a difference between, do I feel sympathetic to these people? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I absolutely feel sympathetic. And I feel even more sympathetic, look at that beautiful segue, to these people. But Afghan schoolgirls are finishing 6th grade in tears under Taliban rule. Their education is over. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it means. We had a fight where people fought to the death to decide who got to be right. We had irreconcilable differences to the point where war broke out. And ultimately, the Taliban now controls Afghanistan. And this weird idea, I've been looking at these articles where these people were like, oh, we should have a protest. We should do this. We should shame the international community. The Taliban does not give a shit about what the world thinks. They would happily go even further back toward the Stone Age and just live their lives exactly the way they want to do it. They do not care at all.
I mean, it's like Iran. Like if you look at pictures of Iran from the 70s, and what they look like now, it's two massively different countries now, and it's just like they don't care. They'll be in the Stone Age for as long as they want to be in the Stone Age.
Mullah Omar was saying things like, I want a world without electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll give you more time to think about your prayers.
Crazy.
Reject modernity, return to monkey.
Yeah, so there's this. Who was I talking to? I was talking to a friend of mine about this topic, more or less topic. And the question of what's the difference between the Taliban and Hamas? And I said, the difference between the Taliban and Hamas is Taliban doesn't care one whit about what the world thinks about them. Hamas totally cares what the world thinks about them.
To a point, but yes.
No. They care about world opinion a lot.
Absolutely.
Not even to a point.
Yes.
They are waging.
Obsessed. Absolutely.
Their PR is one of their main weapons. And because they have to keep the donations coming in. Otherwise, the fat cats in Oman can't just sit in their hotel rooms.
The liberal dupes and the conservative anti-Semites.
Yeah, a lot of the things.
I still love the idiots who think the Gaza Kids Fund is actually going to go to the kids. It's like,
don't do what you want if it's your money, but
you're stupid if you think that's going anywhere near a child. The only I'm going to stop.
Okay, well here's another one.
Wrong.
This is in a section which I call "Explain This to Me." Okay, see, I keep checking in case Sora's trying to get in. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what the problem is here in this article. Okay, so. Lawsuit filed against a Bitcoin mine in Texas has shed light on growing trend. U.S. crypto mines backed by millions of dollars from Chinese investors. Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's been known for a while.
So after China banned all crypto transactions and mining in September 2021, Bitcoin mining companies increasingly turned to places like rural parts of Nebraska, Wyoming, and Texas. Recent reporting by the New York Times suggests that these crypto mines are leading to some worrying socioeconomic implications. The gist of this is, pearl clutching over the fact that Chinese people, including one person who's, I guess he's a student in the U.S., a U.S. resident and a Chinese citizen, owns one of these ventures. Now, the part of the problem with the lawsuit is they're suing because they didn't pay some of their bills. Okay, that's a whole separate issue. But why is it worrying that foreigners are coming here, building big data centers in the middle of nowhere, and paying people to run them? Why is it a problem that people are bringing foreign money into the U.S. and buying shit and paying people to do jobs?
No, balance of trades, it's not a problem at all. It's good for us.
Yeah.
Balance,
But this is some weird sort of pearl clutching, like we're too good to take money from Chinese investors.
but balance of payments, it's bad because we got a net outflow of cash, of wealth leaving the United States.
Bitcoin's not really that much. Ethereum's not even worth that much anymore. It's a lot of but it's one of those things. Now I can understand if it was a lock on the power grid because those things are power suckers. Like,
I think this is going to be a flash in the pan, because this is just a current view of where the technology conflict is right now, and that moves on and changes dimension all the time. This will get important for a while, and it'll either become less important or even disappear entirely.
I expect more from Business Insider. Honestly, this is just so much pearl clutching. Also, if we can make the distinction, people say, well, we don't like the Russian government, but we like the Russian people. I remember saying that for decades, right? During the Cold War, Skep, right? We like the Russian people. Mantra. We like many of the fine people who live in Iran. We don't like the Iranian government. Why is it that we somehow can't seem to separate Chinese business people who aren't necessarily factotums of the Chinese Communist Party? A lot of these people getting away from these Chinese laws are not necessarily.
Part of that is the racial lens through which we view Chinese. We tend to view them as monolithic because, I hate to say this, but to people who aren't exposed to a lot, a majority, Oriental or Eastern racial group, they look more similar to one another. We tend to group them, and when we group them like that, we tend to look for other patterns that reinforce that. Anyway, making them much more monolithic than they should be. That's kind of a racial prejudice that we have, I believe.
I don't know much about this particular Jerry person, but I mean, it does seem like this is one of the good examples of this kind of stuff happening, as opposed to we're inundated by so much other stuff that's negative that we're kind of like scratching our heads going, wait, why does China own this big swath of land, and why are they operating data centers, and why are we selling them? Why is this company now selling them the CCP data on American and Canadian citizens? Like, I mean, those I kind of definitely think are there's something there more than meets the eye. This doesn't seem like much of anything. Like, the only thing, and this is clutching at straw, like stretching really long here, is there have been cases of people here in the West who have come out and said, the CCP is threatening me and threatening my family back home, cousins and stuff that I've never even met, using them as some sort of leverage to get leverage on me. And it's kind of like, that's
get leverage on.
Maybe that might be why people are going, well, if they can do that to them, maybe they can do this to this Jerry person, and who knows? I don't know.
Well, these data centers, because it is like a data center, are huge business. So there was a huge data center that was approved in Virginia, and you go, okay, more jobs. As long as you have the power to run the damn thing, it's more jobs. It's more property that can be taxed, by the local authorities. More land that gets developed.
Building.
It is a huge wealth building thing. Which is why they actually have extended. I looked into it, exemptions, so that they don't just tax the crap out of them. They've tried to incentivize them to bring in their equipment without hitting them with a lot of additional use tax stuff, because that would be a deal breaker. So they're bringing in all these people, and then the problem becomes data centers have become an economic powerhouse. Now they're throwing the weight around in Virginia politics. Yeah. Anytime you bring a business in that's contributing to your coffers and doing all this stuff and employing a bunch of people, they are going to have legitimate interests that they want to protect.
Yeah.
It's It's like
this
Mountain
isn't
View.
anything new.
It's not anything new, but like for instance, Mountain View, Google is headquartered in Mountain View, California. Okay, and there was a big problem getting enough housing for the people who were moving to the area to work at Google. So they were looking at trying to get some land and literally build like housing. Google would build the housing and then supply it to these people. The city of Mountain View shut them down. And the reason they shut them down was why, Serenity? Why did they stop them from building all that housing?
Because then they can't make money off of it.
No, because then they won't be able to vote in the city elections. They knew that if Google had a bunch of their employees living in the city of Mountain View, they would lose all ability to essentially control Google because they would end up taking over the city government. So whenever there's a lot of people and a lot of money moving around, there's going to be influence. You can't have it both ways. You can't successfully bring in a bunch of data centers and then complain that they want stuff politically. Go functional, sorry.
You have to go case by case because look at what happened up here. It's something I'm relatively informed on, like things like ZTG, Huawei, all that. When they did bring a lot of money with them, and they did try to push some political stuff, and then they were discovered to be acting as agents of the CCP. We shut that shit down, and so I mean, I'm not either for or against these things on face value, but it also does, like, if all of these data centers now were Chinese national owned, I'd be a little worried. I would, because I've seen how they operate. I've seen how the CCP operates in Africa and parts of the Middle East. I've seen how they operate.
Who owns these functional?
Which?
These data centers.
I don't know. The Virginia ones, I don't know. The ones in Canada are owned by, predominantly.
Well, there's more than one group. There's a bunch of different data centers that are moved in, so there's more than one owner.
And, okay. And I will, also say that, yes, there's a difference between somebody who just happens to be, a Chinese descendant or a Chinese person or somebody who immigrated here versus somebody who might be a little bit more loyal to the CCP and is, again, you have to take it case by case. And if there's any sort of, like Eric Swalwell, evidence to the fact that somebody is an agent of the CCP, then that has to be fully investigated, flushed out, and exposed.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple pretty nerdy things, so I'm going to have to keep them relatively short so I don't lose everybody. But I'm I'm looking to see how many full-fledged nerds we have in chat right now. So if you're not a nerd, just bear with me. It won't last very long. So this is a section I'm calling 80 is the new 30, ? A couple pretty influential people from the history of computer science are in their 80s and still doing shit. And it makes me very happy to see this. So one of them is a guy named Michael Stonebreaker, who was the original pioneer of the database called Postgres. Postgres is a fantastic product. And I've been championing this particular database like forever. It's like, I don't like databases, but if you have to use a database, use Postgres. Okay. It's a fantastic product. And I don't think most people outside of nerddom realize how incredibly important the development of this one software package has been.
Postgres SQL. Right?
Yes. Yeah. It's actually huge. Now, Michael Stonebreaker is, in his 80s now, and he's still working on creating another next generation database thing. He has not stopped working at all, even though he's created something which in many ways is like almost a de facto standard. It's so commonly used in high performance stuff. He's not given up. He's continuing to work on all of this stuff. He's still breaking new ground and doing research into making databases way better than they ever were. And another guy, good old Don Knuth. Don Knuth is, what is he, 83, 82? Gosh, how old is he? He's old, okay? He is still giving Christmas lectures at Stanford University. And in his Christmas lectures, people basically show up and he talks about stuff that interests him, meaning algorithms and data structures.
He's 85.
He's 85. And first of all, he can get away with wearing that. Okay, it's like, what the hell? Can I be this successful? I'm not going to play the audio from this, but
Wow.
But yeah, he's still up there talking about data structures and doing stuff. And he's been doing this for like 24 years. And all of these are available online for anybody who's particularly interested. He started back in the 60s explaining how data structures and algorithms work. He's one of the big pioneers that laid the foundation for almost all of modern computer science. He's the man. He's the Mac Daddy. And he's up there with his overhead projector giving these lectures at Stanford. And this just makes me happy. I think this is a fantastic thing. I should probably give the link to this in the chat in case anybody's interested.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay. So,
what a mind.
Yeah, what a mind. I mean, these guys are in their 80s and they're not giving up at all. And you could say the same thing about guys like Vince Cerf too.
Giving up.
But like Vince Cerf, hasn't given up. There's a lot of these guys who are like early pioneers who are still doing stuff. And if Seymour Cray was still alive, he would probably be doing a lot of stuff too. I stumbled across a video which I thought was kind of interesting. And it's this one here. These computers changed the world. It's kind of a low budget production. He's using this animation style, but he actually goes through the history of the high performance systems from controlled data, the founding of Cray Research. He even explains what superscalar architecture is.
Nice.
This is a really good video. I'm going to put the link to that one in the chat as well for anybody who's interested.
That's badass. Yeah, thank you.
This is a great video, and it kind of shows to me what you can do if you just take the time to research something. You don't really need fancy production values to make a good video. The fact that this video, a channel with 10,000 subscribers, this video has 161,000 views. And it was put out 2 weeks ago.
Nice. What does that say?
What that says is there's a lot of people out there that are hungry for content that doesn't suck.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the truth. Yeah, I got it. Thank you, bud.
So let's see.
Awesome.
Let's see. Where do we want to go? Let's see. We have another half hour to go. Data centers. We can complain about this briefly. Monsanto ordered to pay $857 million to Washington school students and parent volunteers over toxic PCBs. Now, PCBs are chemicals which most definitely cause cancer. This is not the same thing as glyphosate or Roundup that we're talking about here. But on the one hand...
I'm sorry. Say that over again. Monsanto ordered to pay
$857 million.
School students and parent over toxic, what's that? Polychlorinated biphenyls.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep. And they were sort of in the environment of the school. So it says, in most recent case, the former students and parent volunteers claimed that exposure to Monsanto's polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, from fluorescent light fixtures caused a host of health problems, including brain damage and autoimmune disorders. PCBs were banned from the production in 1979 due to their toxicity, yada, 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 but they're still in light fixtures and other parts of buildings from the 1950s, 1970s. Now, specifically, if you have a ballast on a fluorescent light fixture, it may contain components which have small amounts of PCBs in them, which could leak out over time. But it is an incredible stretch to say that the fluorescent lights in a school caused any of these problems for these people.
This is utter bullshit.
It is utter bullshit.
Yeah, this is just holding up a big company.
How do you have a modern society when these kinds of lawsuits go through?
Exactly. It's part of our insanity, and it supports a whole area of the law that ends up stifling innovation and holding society back. and that's the tort law business.
Yeah.
Tort reform is badly needed in the United States.
Yeah, so Skep, if you ever mishandled an electrolytic capacitor and got any of the electrolytic goo on you in the 1970s, you're probably going to get cancer and die 20 years
doomed.
ago.
I'm doomed.
Yeah, it's amazing that either of us are still alive.
Yeah, exactly. Much benzene as my hands have been in.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. No, it's not as ridiculous as the glyphosate things because there's really not any good, strong evidence for that at all. I mean, PCBs are legitimately carcinogenic.
Yeah.
But
bad shit,
when you manufacture a product in good faith and sell it in good faith and people got to leave the lights on, how can you have an economy where something like this is possible? This particular, I can't remember which state, is like Washington State. A lot of states are trying to cap these extra damages that they throw on top, because this is just one of those things where the jury just gave them a ridiculous amount of money. Because who doesn't care about school children with cancer, right, Skep?
Oh, of course. Just give them all the money.
Yeah, just give them all the money.
$300 million. Good God.
Good God.
We'll really get their attention. We'll strike a blow for lawyers.
Yeah, for the little guy. Yeah. Well, Functional.
We got almost 30% of the award amount.
Yeah. Functional, you still with us?
That might be me. I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay. Japan's slim Moon Sniper lander arrives in lunar orbit for Christmas. The Japanese are going to land on the moon. Isn't this the beginning of like every monster movie ever? Isn't there going to be some sort of lunar kaiju that like gets annoyed and comes to Earth and tries to kill us all? No, but like everybody is going to the moon now.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of private businesses are going to the moon. We're seeing this, and we haven't seen this kind of traffic to the moon in quite a long time. I think this is cool. The fact that they're trying to basically land, and then they've got like a little rover thing, and then some commercial packages on there. It's there's a bunch of stuff going on in space right now. So I have this little compilation of 10 exhilarating spaceflight missions to watch in 2024.
What are they?
Well, there's like a bunch of moon missions. There's the Japanese one that they're talking about right here. Currently en route to the lunar surface, the spacecraft is scheduled to land on January 19th inside the moon's Schempp crater. The SLIM mission aims to demonstrate a landing with a precision of less than 330 feet from the target. If successful, the spacecraft's touchdown will mark the first ever soft lunar landing for a Japanese spacecraft. There's another lander, the Peregrine lunar lander, which will carry 20 commercial and government payloads. And there's even a rover that's coming from Mexico. I didn't know Mexico had a space agency, but apparently even Mexico's going to the moon.
It's probably got those hydraulic lifters, and I'll bet it's got a pair of fuzzy dice hanging off.
Yeah, exactly. The Chinese are going to the moon. There's the Artemis missions, which we're looking forward to. So they're going to fly around the moon. And one of the people's Canadian, so that's fun for you guys.
And when is that? When in 2024 is Artemis 2 going up?
November.
November, okay.
So we'll get our first person of color and our first Canadian to escape low Earth orbit.
Are we going to get a person of excess size also?
Maybe. Maybe. We'll see.
I'm thinking a fat black lesbian, or maybe an all fat black, not a person, a fat black lesbian crew, all fat black lesbian.
Yeah, that'll be a fun capsule to be in. There's a number of rockets that are going to be launching for the first time. The Vulcan Centaur, which has been delayed. I think if I scroll down, obviously Starship Mission 3, that's going to be amazing. The Ariane 6 will hopefully finally fly in the middle of 2024. We talked about how that was delayed. But just so much stuff. And we're sending a mission to Europa, which it can't orbit.
Yeah, that's one I'm actually excited for.
Well, it can't orbit Europa because there's just too damn much radiation in the general environment for it to run the mission
No,
there.
but we're gonna get some data, like, air quotes, close up that we haven't had before. That's like
right.
the first step,
It's going to
right?
do 50
We need
close
to know
flybys.
exactly how much radiation, where is there, like, we know that it flares up in certain places. We get pictures of the surface of the storms, get atmospheric readings, like all these different things that are going to be essential to us being able to study it better in the future.
Yeah. Well, it's going to orbit Jupiter, and it's going to do 50 close flybys. So it's just going to like dip in, take some measurements really close to the surface,
Hopefully
and
not get
high resolution. And so, so they're looking at 25 kilometers is the closest.
So close.
That is so close.
You can hear it in my voice. I'm actually giddy because this is the type of science exploration that, like, that's why I was kind of like, whatever, with the moon. It's like, okay, we already know it's made out of cheese. Let's move on.
Yeah,
like, it's great that Japan is going to land there, but it's like, okay, same old, same old.
There
Not
might
really
be
reinventing the wheel
there might
here,
be
but
moon Germans there. I saw that movie.
But with something like this is like actually exciting stuff.
Yep. Well, we've got a few space planes. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. But honestly, the cool stuff is the stuff that doesn't happen in near Earth orbit or low Earth orbit. The interesting stuff is what happens out in the beyond. And the moon is just a nice stepping stone.
Maybe, the European agency or the Japanese are going to, try to study and develop ways of creating enclosed habitats on vacuum spaces, or so, maybe they're going to do something great down the line, but like for now it's just kind of like, well, they're just getting up there and just showing they did what we did 80 years ago.
Serenity. Serenity, no, she stepped away probably. Okay.
Douglas.
Well, I think at least one of you was here when we talked about Amazon's competitor Starlink, right? Anybody? Maybe?
Yes.
Okay, and then there was the laser-driven cat video, that we had, the 8K cat video. Well, there's something I did not know about the Amazon constellation of satellites, which takes it from being boring to something actually interesting. Kuiper internet satellites will form a mesh network using optical links. They're using optical links between the satellites in the mesh.
What?
Yeah. Which means that the available bandwidth from these things is actually going to be a lot more.
That's
far,
crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how mesh networks work, right? So there's really not much difference between a directional microwave antenna, because you want the best gain possible. You're not just going to have a dipole sitting out there omnidirectionally, sending radio waves out. It's going to be something directional. So if you already have the codecs and everything else set up to do it with microwaves, doing it with a laser is just not that much of a difference, except that the data rates are way higher.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because you're out of millimeter waves into something much, much, much smaller.
God, yeah, the cycles per second is just out of control.
Yeah. I mean, microwaves are fine and all that, but this optical mesh network, this is actually some useful science. The fact that it's in IEEE.org's publication as opposed to USA Today or something is kind of a testament to that, because the mainstream media stuff isn't really covering the cool parts of it. They're just really focusing on the dick measuring contest between Bezos and Musk.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Not the most interesting thing.
This is really an interesting aspect of this.
Yeah.
That this is potentially, you actually study the strategy in business school. In some businesses, it's best to be second in. And this is the sort of thing that, it's the kind of risk that Elon Musk runs, being what they call the innovator, and going in and taking all the innovation risk, hoping for the big payday. The thing that comes and gets those guys is the second iteration that incorporates some improvement that the initial innovator forgot.
Well,
and should have included in his offering, and they just get their clock cleaned.
Well, speaking of maturing, by the way, I am keeping an eye on the chat, but not much is coming up. So I'm not ignoring you guys, I promise. I'm just not seeing much traffic in the chat. 10 big wins for nuclear energy in 2023. Now, in order to get it to 10, I sort of feel like energy.gov, the DOE, may have padded their resume just a little bit here. But there are some good things, mostly in the form of new reactor technology and licensing of new types of reactors that we just haven't had before. There's so much possibility for nuclear that just wasn't there at the beginning of the year because of a lot of the licensing that's gone through.
Yeah. That was huge.
This scaling up of clean hydrogen production. Well, that's assuming an awful lot, right? Is there even going to be a demand for clean hydrogen? I mean, I think it's really interesting, but that's not really a big selling point. But stuff in terms of fueling future reactors, there's some stuff about types of fuel that's available, and then making it. They made some additional fuel for some research reactors. That's like this inherently safe type of stuff. Really interesting technology in terms of like how the Doppler effect when you heat and cool this stuff kicks in really rapidly. These reactors are
breaking
just
news, Harry.
insanely...
We have something in chat.
What?
You are evil. The
I'm
Harry
evil.
Channel is evil.
Clearly.
Breaking.
I would go with
Breaking
amoral. I would go with amoral.
Well, it's just good to know that Costin and some of the other
are paying attention.
devotees of the channel are still here.
Did you see this guy? This little guy here, the micro reactor?
Is that the one from Japan?
No.
No.
This is the
Show me the micro. What is this?
Okay, it's a new microreactor. The let's see, the NRIC Dome, the world's first microreactor testbed that will support the design and licensing of new reactor technology. It's like what's on a ship, but even smaller. Think of the possibilities.
You could have that in your basement.
Yeah.
Actually, not even kidding.
No. A 10
you
megawatt
really could have a home reactor.
Yeah. Floor loading capability, blah, 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 blah. Excellent. Anyway, that's all really cool stuff here. So, Scap, what do you think of this tech? What do you think of this?
Did you put thorium in the reactor tonight?
Sure, why not? U.S. Navy receives first long-range robotic submarine.
Yep.
So it's like basically a sub-drone, but it's long-range.
This is just amazing. How they communicate with this.
Well, it's long range, long deployment, diesel powered, and like an old diesel sub, it can surface. It's got a snorkel, it recharges its batteries, and then it just goes deep again. And this thing is designed to work for months. Yep. And it has the capability to carry a not insignificant payload. It's at 85 feet with a payload capacity of 8 tons, or 8.8 tons. That doesn't sound like a lot, but imagine being able to stealthily deliver something into very dangerous waters without putting any people at risk. You can put a lot in 8 tons.
No sonar.
Yeah.
Reflection to speak of.
Yeah.
No,
that's the evolution of making
like
everything.
Yeah.
Well, they call it the Orca, so yeah. I mean, to basically take the human element of, obviously on your side,
that's a handsome
things like this. Like I hate to say it, but warfare. Like
looks a bit like a sunfish, honestly.
Yeah, I think
sleek.
it's cool. It's and it's a natural way to go. You put fewer human lives at risk, and there are a lot of things that subs do that lend themselves to automation.
Yeah.
And even though things are naturally dangerous, being on a sub is one of the most dangerous.
Yeah. Who built this?
Sorry, I thought it was Boeing. Let's see. Boeing's extra large Orca. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Or as I like to pronounce it, Boeing.
It's based on Boeing's Echo Voyager. Okay.
But this is pretty cool.
Prototype.
It's stuff like logistics, but this thing could run a blockade pretty effectively, I think.
Yeah.
when
like
you
a
absolutely
fish.
positively have to get 8 tons of something somewhere where nobody wants it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. We can, if you think about what that could do, that could be a suicide atomic weapon to a harbor town.
Yeah. If you
Yep.
if you aren't
See,
amazed by the possibilities of this thing, you are suffering a lack of either understanding or imagination or some combination of the two.
Exactly. No, you absolutely could make war with this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this won't be the only one.
Oh no. Underwater drones. I'm pretty sure Tesla had this in mind and then he realized his little radio tower wasn't going to do it.
Drones are changing everything in that business over in Israel has these killer drones that they send out after these guys in Gaza. They're trying to, flush out and, neutralize the rest of the Hamas fighters. They're using drones, and it has changed the nature of warfare.
It sure has. So, I've skipped over a few things that annoy me so much that I just decided to skip them. But I have a few fun things left that we can play ourselves out with. So, do we have Serenity yet?
Yeah.
Okay, because I really want you to see this now. Serenity, what do you think of this? Linux is the only OS to support diagonal PC monitor mode. Dev champions the case for 22-degree rotation computing.
Why?
I don't know.
Wait.
Assholes.
Like, I
Because you can
understand.
have a longer line in the middle of the page.
Okay.
Would this make your gaming better or way better?
No. Oh no, it's kind of like we're starting to go back to weird, like, because people are watching stuff
That would
on
give me a
their
headache.
phones. Like, we're now going to, like, back when people used to scream, "Don't put it in portrait mode, put it in landscape." People are now like, "Portrait mode's good." It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Well,
Stop
No.
They
Screw
wrote
you,
this.
TikTok.
They wrote
Screw
this
you.
copy with a straight face. Here's a
I'm sure
fun
they
tidbit. Linux is the only OS to support a diagonal monitor mode, which you can customize to any tilt of your liking. Latching onto this possibility, a Linux developer who grew dissatisfied with the extreme choices offered by the cultural norms of landscape or portrait monitor usage is championing diagonal mode computing.
it. Why though?
Melbourne-based Shemp asserts that the perfect rotation for software development is 22 degrees. Yeah.
Why? Does it like say it all? Why?
I don't know. I'm still checking to see if this came out on April 1st, and apparently no.
No.
I mean, it's cool that you can do it. That much is fine. Just as a weird flex, this is
thing.
kind of fun.
Weird flex, but okay.
Yeah, you're not gonna get anybody in the office to date you who you're not gonna sway the cute girl who hasn't given you the time of day by turning your monitor to 22 degrees.
Right.
But sure, why not?
All right. Whatever, nerd boy. Whatever.
Yeah. It turns out that a 22-degree tilt to the left was the sweet spot for Shemp. This rotation delivered the best working screen space on what looks like a 32:9 aspect ratio monitor from Dell. So this here, I think, is the best monitor orientation for software development. It provides the longest line lengths and no longer need to worry about that pesky 80-column limit. Okay, now. That sounds great.
Pesky 80-column limit.
Yeah. So what do we think of this here? I'm going to go with cry for help. Excuse me. What is abrosexual? Let me explain. It took me nearly 30 years to realize my identity.
Oh, good
I
God.
think she identifies as bored and needy.
Yeah, exactly. Needs attention. No one ever pays attention to me.
Yeah. When I tell people that I'm abrosexual, they yawn and walk away. No, it says, I'm often greeted by a blank expression. I'm sorry, and I don't like to say things about the way people look because it's superficial, but you are not hot enough to get away with being this stupid. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yep. You have to have a certain level.
I want to know what
hotness
abrosexual is because I'm on Tumblr all the time and I need to know what the fuck
Okay.
that means. This way I can block it.
Okay, for those of you who don't know what abrosexuality is, In
Yeah, most of
layperson's
us.
terms, it simply means when somebody's sexual identity fluctuates and changes. It's Heisenberg's uncertainty sexuality.
Yeah.
Whenever you try to measure
You
it,
have
it
to
just
evaluate
changes.
it.
I
So
think
she's bi.
she's something. I don't know. She's like 22 degrees off of the angle of the heterosexual axis or something,
Bi.
which gives her the longest possible lines for something. Anyway, that's
Bi.
stupid.
Yeah,
you
that's
you
what it
did see
sounds
Night
like. It's
Shadow,
just
right?
bi.
You saw the cat bicycle or the cat motorcycle.
Yes.
Okay. Here's a thing which I say is actually good. I just stumbled across this channel. This guy's name is Chris Cornell, and this thing is called "Mr. Rogers' Music Was Way More Intricate Than You Remember." I was completely unaware and hadn't thought about it as an adult, just how good the music was. They had like a proper, really good jazz musician play all those piano pieces, and they actually varied a little bit from show to show the things that they put together. He wasn't as famous as some of the other people that you may have heard about. He wasn't as famous as like Oscar Peterson, for instance, but the music on Mr. Rogers was actually legit.
Really?
Not really designed
I
for
did
kids.
not know that.
Yeah, this completely surprised me. I'm going to put the link in the chat. This is actually
Yeah,
this
I'd
is
like
a
to check
super
that
cool
out.
video.
Thank you so much.
There's a lot of good stuff. I'm going to play just a
Yeah.
teeny tiny bit of it just so you get the
What show
sense.
this is?
Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighbor.
We're all familiar with the
That's a lot for little kids. And the thing that Fred Rogers decided was, well, they need to be exposed to this stuff. So instead of the banana phone bullshit and whatever is going on for kids now, he actually had like a real musician create real music. And Fred Rogers actually is a musician, or was a musician, and could play the piano, and he was involved in the creation of the music, the themes for the music itself. Sorry, Serenity, what were you going to say?
Well, I was about to say, I honest to God think Mr. Rogers, if you grew up watching a lot of Mr. Rogers like I did, I think that's the reason why there's a lot of us who like jazz.
Yep,
Like, because I love jazz. Like,
I love jazz.
Just not singing jazz, just
Yeah,
musical jazz. And that's kind of... Oh, okay, yeah. Johnny Costa, noted jazz musician, served as musical director for Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood
yep.
for more than 25 years. That's why. But it's just... It's especially piano jazz is just the best. Like, it's just better than most things. But it's not all that surprising to hear that, because it's just like Mr. Rogers was, along with Bob Ross and Steve Irwin, just salute, and you better be an angel up in heaven, dude. That's all I'm saying. There better be a heaven just so you can be an angel.
Yeah, well, there aren't too many people that you can insult that are going to have me punch you in the face. Fred Rogers is it's a short list. Okay,
I'll kill you.
No.
It's a really short list. There's like my grandfather, Fred Rogers. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Oh, he also was on the show a couple times. He played piano with Queen Sarah a couple times.
Oh, sweet.
Interesting.
Yeah, we were lucky. I mean, it was really basic stuff, but we were, it was a good time to be alive and a little kid. So respect for that. Let me see. What else do we
And
have
it's just,
here?
it's great.
He's a big improvement over Captain Kangaroo, which is what I have.
I liked Captain Kangaroo too. But anyway,
What's his name?
like,
Keegan? What's his first name? Keishan.
Keishan.
Okay.
He was a
Bob
captain at
Keeshan.
one point, I think, in real life. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like, it's just Mr. Rogers. It's as things have come out about certain heroes from the youth, and or just nefarious tales of people being pieces of crap. It's just nice that nothing's come out about Bob Ross and nothing's come out about Mr. Rogers, because they were just inherent. It proves that you can be not directly in that kind of business, but kind of tangentially in it and not be a piece of human garbage. So it's like the rest of you had no excuse. It's like, sorry, both men worked for decades and never were in anything, and you're a piece of crap for acting that way.
So I have one more little fun thing, and the other one I've got is it's got cuteness in it, so we have to hold on to that for Sora later.
Sora.
the whitest Mayo baby names you could give your child. And Ranker, somebody actually created a list, which people have been voting on, to decide what are the whitest names for babies. Because we did the African American baby names earlier, right? And I thought it was only fair that we see what they think our names should be. Or
Okay.
so
I think it's going to be entirely accurate.
at the no,
Hunter.
I'm not claiming this is accurate at all. So Hunter, Braden, Brayden. I can't say I've ever met anybody with that
I've
name.
never known of Braden.
Oh, I have.
Tanner
Not with a Y.
as a
Not with a
first
Y.
name. Peyton, okay, that's like a name. Paisley. I understand. Maybe there's kids named Paisley. I have Brad. Now, Brad, that's about the whitest name you can come up with. Brad is there, right? Parker, Kyle, Brody. Again,
yeah.
I've seen, it sounds like a name of a snowboarder in like SSX video game franchise or something. I don't know if
Yeah.
I've ever met anybody named Brody.
I'm Brody McFreeze, and I'm gonna trash
Well,
this.
Kris Jenner, before Kris Jenner changed, has a son named Brody.
Okay. McKinley,
His second born son is a boy named Brody.
Colton, Mackenzie. Okay. I assume that's
Chase.
named
I agree with
Chase.
Chase. I agree with
Aiden,
Chase.
Aiden. That seems to be a pretty popular one.
I've
Liam.
seen Aiden spelled with an I or with a Y. I've seen both spelled.
I mean, Liam's a strong name. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that's got
It's
a lot
pretty-
of history
pretty
to it.
white,
I
though.
like
mean,
Liam.
it is
Liam's a good name, but what the hell is Reagan? Raegan?
that's a
Is
girl's
that
name.
That's
a
a
girl's
that's a
name.
girl's
that's a name?
That's a girl's
Kaylee,
name. Yeah.
Becky, Easton,
Easton, I've seen it,
Maisie,
Easton.
yeah, Weston,
Yep.
Jake. That's pretty white. Mason. That's pretty white.
Austin's pretty
I knew a guy named Mason. He was a young guy, and I think the last time I talked to him, he told me a story of how he went to the Santa Cruz boardwalk and got put in boardwalk jail for getting drunk and stealing one of the little go-karts that the security used.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is that like a white way to get arrested?
Yeah. It's a
Austin?
white way to get arrested.
Yeah.
That McKinley spelled that way is not a white spelling.
I don't
That
think
is
it-
bull.
And what the hell is Lakynn? No,
Lakyn.
that's not. That's stupid. That's a
No,
dumb.
it's Lakin. That's Lakin. I've seen it spelled that way.
I've never even. Okay.
Logan, Tucker,
Yeah.
Carter, Brooklyn, Brett, Rayleigh,
Raleigh.
Raleigh.
It's
Sorry,
Raleigh.
Madeline. Madeline's a fine name.
Kinsey.
What the hell is
Kinsey.
Brinley? Brynleigh. Am I not white enough?
That's a country name. That's Brinley.
Okay. Claire, Kirsten, Caitlin,
Chet.
Chet.
Yeah.
Friendly.
Dallas,
Dallas.
Autumn.
Yeah. Sophie, Camden.
I mean,
Grace.
first of all, the whole idea that
Kelsey.
like the title of this thing says Mayo Baby. I mean, I'm not easily offended,
Racist?
but I am mildly annoyed.
Yeah. Number one is Hunter.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think Braden would be more than that, but sure, we'll go with Hunter.
But no.
Yeah. So it said latest edition was Braxlyn, Braxlynn, and the most divisive one in the ratings was Warner. I was like, what the hell is
How is-
Braxlyn? Is that like a real name? I don't
haven't
think
seen,
so.
I have never interacted with a Braxton. I've interacted with a Braxton, but I've never interacted with a Braxton.
I feel like non-Mayo people are projecting.
I think they are.
I think they are. I don't think.
Because I also know some little non-Mayo children with some of these names, like Kenzie. I know a lot of. I have friends like I have 2 cousins and a friend who all's daughters are named Kenzie, and it's spelled the exact same way.
Maylee,
like-
Maylee. Sounds.
Yeah, Maylee. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get out much.
Some of these are country ass spellings.
Okay.
Like they're trying because it's because there used to be because my grandmother went to school with a girl named May space Lee. So a lot of them are trying to smack them together.
Well, there's a Wesley, and I instantly hate it just because of Wesley Crusher. Like I couldn't name a kid Wesley because of that character.
Well, that's how you know that the people who name their kid have never seen Star
Also.
Trek.
Yeah.
That would be a terrible thing to do.
Yeah. Warner,
Curse the child with the name.
Yeah. Zoe,
Zoe, I can see
Allison, Hope.
Zoe. Todd.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Odd.
What the hell is Taylor? Taaylee.
Okay, Taylor,
Taylor.
I think comes from Taylor because I went to high school with a girl named Taylor Lee. and then she had a last name. I'm not going to say, but
So
I think some of these are people shoving them together. But
But I don't think any of these names have, like, when we were talking about the African baby names, it's like, oh, it means in some language that only Skep knows, like bringer of peace or some sort of thing. Remember, they all had like these amazing backstories. Here, it's just the backstory is, it's just kind of a country spelling.
I mean, a lot of these are like Hunter. A lot of those are former either family names or occupation names.
Right.
In
Fletcher,
English
Hunter,
like that, yeah.
Cooper. Yeah.
So it's one of those, and the thing is, a lot of these names I've seen on people who are not white. Like Gabriel is a very common name on certain skin tones.
Cassandra is a good name if you want your child to never be listened to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, also it's also not a good. It's not a good nickname. 'Cause
Jaslyn, Jazlyn.
Jaslyn is not
Harry
a right
was
name.
making a classical reference.
I was.
Right.
Yeah.
You got it absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah, if you name your daughter Chastity, she's going to grow up to work the pole. That's all I'm saying.
Mercedes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Poles are going to be in her future.
If you name her Mercedes, she's going to get a Mercedes, but it's going to be repossessed.
Yep.
Oh, that's it.
100%.
Yeah, good times.
Well, also, the problem is when you work in a call center for like a little over 3 years, you hear a lot of specific names come from specific groups of people, and some of these are pretty universal to any skin tone, but a certain skin tone has no right to judge anybody, because the amount of times I've had to talk to someone whose first name was Chianti and it wasn't even spelled like Chianti. Like, no, we're not picking on the white people for names here.
How about this Aquanetta? That was
Aquanetta.
a real netta. That was a real
Aquafina.
name.
Yeah. But I think we can all agree that Brad is a
called
white
her
guy.
Nettie.
I do like Paisley for a girl's name, though. I like that name.
Yeah.
Paisley.
Good times. Well, I mean, this is the light, fluffy stuff that we end the show on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've actually gone for 2 whole hours. And,
Lots of stuff and end with fluff.
and you guys got some really good links. So hopefully you will check out some of the
Hot
stuff
links.
that I linked. There's
Check out these hot
plenty
links.
of stuff for you guys to look at. Old Guy Gamer.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for researching that stuff out.
Yeah, so much good stuff tonight. So, if anybody has anything else they want to say, now's a good time to say it.
I agree with Old Guy Gamer for Quisha.
On to 2024.
Woo!
All right. Well, hey, see y'all next
Time
year.
is an illusion. Lunchtime doubly so.
Yep.
Well, this has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday. Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. Zoo's closed. Good night, everybody.
Goodbye.